So we're in the gate of self-love right now, which is like one of the easiest ones to read. It literally says, love yourself. And then the questions are like, do you love yourself? How do you love yourself? And it's like I said, we're coming back to even, we should be talking to ourselves, like bake it down to simple things, like come back to that childlike state, come back to our childlike wonder, come back to even just compassion and honoring ourselves and just simply asking, do I love myself? What do I do to love myself? Can I just say, I love you? I love me. Ladies, how you doing today?
Oh my God. So first of all, thank you. Oh, and Mulan, guys. Because Mulan is like, I feel like you're going to need me today. Like, it's going to be one of those days. You're going to need me, put me handy, get your water set up. So if you don't have your essentials today, please go get it, because we're talking about some good stuff that it even has to me, like I pull out my coloring book to stay put while it's not my turn, because it's one of those days, and I cannot wait to let you freak on because we're gonna need to dig deep into our human design to see if we have any control issues, because when we are going into 2022, that is something that we want to essentially leave behind, because 2022 is bringing out so many good things and so many iffy things. So we need to be on the right path here. Queen, how you feeling this morning? Because after that movement, meditation, and carpooling, and all the stuff that we did today, from last night with Christine, me, and then this morning with the Queen, it's been a lot. So that's why I have my coloring book to stay put.
Oh my gosh. You know what? I just now realized why I'm wearing this shirt that I'm wearing today. Let me show you. Okay. So Spider-Man. Okay. So go watch the movie. And please forgive me, because I'm about to drop some stuff that's going to be told in the movie. He got bit by a spider, and then he changed. He evolved. That's what we're going through right now. We are evolving. We are leveling up. We have these amazing powers. All that spider did was ignite that fire that was already in Peter Parker. So get your spider boo. Ignite yourself. Wow, I just got that. So that's how I'm doing. What? That's how the sun goddess rolls. This is what staying in the moment is about. You get to see your lesson in whatever you need to learn in that moment. Oh my gosh. Okay, I need to go back in the back, because I know some people are chatting. I know, I just blew it up, right? Blew it up. That's how I roll. I can't help it.
I love that you said that about Spider-Man, because we have a date with Spider-Man tomorrow. We have a date with Spider-Man tomorrow. My husband's planned these things ahead and just plugs them into my ear. We're doing this tomorrow. So yesterday we were discussing some stuff, and I'm like, oh, I'm doing a bath today and this and that. And he's like, good, because Thursday we're going to go see Spider-Man. And I was like, oh yeah. I'm excited to see Spider-Man, one of my favorites. And yeah, I can't wait until Christine gets on with the show. And if we can dig into somebody's human design, I can be the piggy today. And you could go dissect my brain. Like Joe is saying, get into my head, girl. Let's see.
Well,
let's get started.
Definitely share your chart. Because we haven't seen yours in a hot minute, I don't think. Jesse, we haven't shared yours in a hot minute. But I love that about Spider-Man. I was just thinking about that, and I was like, wow, what a cool perspective, though, to think about, and what a good thing, especially with everything that's going on right now. Like, Like, you could have looked at a spider bite like, oh my God, I got injected with this horrible, like, we could have looked at it in so many different ways, or like, this thing did this to me. And you're like, no, all it did was really, it there was something special in his body that it mixed with, that it turned it on. And I never was like, huh, like, I like that. Like, that, you literally did just like blow my mind. And for a second, like, I just went out there and was gone. And then I had to come back. I was like, wow. And so I'm like, well, now I got to go see Spider-Man. So I'm going to go see Spider-Man. I'm excited because, you know, everything's opened up around here. And so, yeah, I can't wait. I'm going to go see Spider-Man. We'll go do that. It's so awesome. So talking about control, and we were talking a little bit in the beginning about talking about, like Jessie was saying about, she was beginning of meditation, we'd have to train our bodies. Like, you're going to sit here, you're going to sit here, you're just going to sit here. And it's funny because that same thing, like just saying that, is what I tell my yoga students in the beginning. I say, listen, like in the beginning, I say, Christine, come back. Christine, what are you thinking about? Come on, Christine. Where's your mind going? We're not thinking about our groceries right now. Come on, Christine. And I say it, Christine, to myself. I'm like, come on, Christine. It's like, I keep taking my hand and I keep pulling myself back. I keep pulling myself back. And so we were talking about control yesterday, and you were talking about that whole thing about like the level of control, and this all ties into our language, because this is literally what I've been, especially with human design and really with my language, struggling almost a little bit, because I'm like, I feel the push pull in me, which means that I know that I'm kind of right, and I'm still just trying to hold on to some of society's things. And so now I'm really trying to honor that. And so when we think about the level of control and we think about evolving, like what we were talking about yesterday, what I think about, especially when we look at okay, first of all, we all start somewhere. And in order to, we got to start somewhere. And we're going to start, like, you got to train like you're a dog. You got to train your brain, and you are going to do the obnoxious things, the small little mindful things. Like, even when it comes to breathing and yoga, you know how long it took me to finally connect my breath and my movement? Like 10 months to understand what that meant. And when I finally, every day I'd be like, Christine, you better be breathing in, you're reaching up. And now as you fold forward, you better be breathing out. I had to keep thinking about my belly, and Jessie wanted me to bring up my meditation last night. And this is literally, I had to think, I had to bring my mind, what is my belly doing? What is my breath doing to my body? What should my body naturally be doing? If I'm breathing in, oh, I'm getting big. And so I got to connect those movements, those arcs, those back bends, whatever, the expansive. And now if I'm breathing out, my belly's coming in, what should my body do? I should fold, I should twist, I should wring it out, right? Twist it and wring it out. And so, but in the beginning, I had to keep telling myself that, breathe in while you're doing that, breathe out while you're doing that, like a robot, like I'm training my brain. But then eventually we have to let go of that control. And because then it's going to come into that like mundane habit, right? If I never let go of that mindless thought process of only saying, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, and I'm blocking all other channels, I'm not allowing any process for growth, right? Because I'm controlled to think, all I should think about is breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. And then what I'm doing is I'm not letting my guides come through to me. I'm not letting anybody else come through to me to let me evolve, because I only think this is the only thing I should be thinking about, right? No, eventually we let go of that control. We learn that we don't have to say breathe in, breathe out, that we're just naturally moving with our body. We can find this level of ease. Maybe sometimes our mind wanders, that's fine. Then we bring it back to the sensation. I'm like, oh, I'm feeling it in my hip, whatever. This is how I pull myself when I'm physically practicing. But we always have to grow and evolve. And this is where, when I first found human design, coming back to this is where we have to also release our gurus, and we have to learn how to let go of our masters when we start growing and evolving and releasing that control. And that's a control thing. When you get so caught up in following somebody because they helped you, they enlightened you, you're like, oh my God, they opened up my world. Like, I follow 𝕱𝖑𝖆𝖊𝖘 on Instagram. I love him. Like, I love some of the stuff that he talks about, and the things that he says, he really like sparks you, right? He's very blunt sometimes, and he really sparks you. But as I've gone through some of my experiences, there's some things that he says that's very blunt, that he almost is like, makes it seem absolute. And I'm like, there's no absolutes. Remember, it's infinite. We can't have this absolute. And this is almost why I challenged you a little bit with them NFTs. And this is why sometimes I challenge this, because I'm like, why would we want to cap that number? Why would we want to make something so inclusive to create this FOMO when there's abundance of everything? And so this is where I have struggled, because where do we release that control? Where do we have to, then we have to tap into ourselves. And this is where we come back to our chart, because this is when we're like, okay, I have to come to my own guru. And you know what? This is like what happened to me with human design. And this is actually like how I met Wolf Mama, and through other people. We all followed each other with human design. This woman that we were following with human design, and she started becoming very finite. And I was like, you're trying to tell me, like, we don't follow human design to put ourselves in a box. Just because you're a manifesting generator and you want to go do something, you're not putting yourself in a box being a manifesting generator. And so we have to remember that you're not giving yourself this label. And so there still is going to be exceptions to all of the rules, because of what your heart is saying, because of what your energy is saying, because of whatever. And so we have to learn to listen to that rule break inside of us. And that's when you step up and you're like, okay, now I'm going to be my guru. I got to thank them for what they've showed me. I got to thank them for the path that I did. And I release that control. I release them being my hand holder. And now I'm trusting the universe. I'm trusting myself. And I know I just went like, I'm like so around so many different things. But when we come back and look at our chart, so what can we do with our chart to help us with that? We look at our defined and our undefined centers, because our defined centers and where we have that consistent energy is going to be the areas where we know we can trust ourselves. And so if you are feeling that conflict, like sometimes when I listen to some of these new things, or even new companies, or like do like contests, like when UI promotes a contest, like a contest to me, like, oh, my whole body is like, oh, I just want to like that. To me, I'm like, I don't want to compete. I don't want to compete. That no matter what we're trying to compete, no matter how and I understand it's a motivational tool. We're trying to use it for motivation, but inside me, what it did as a manifesting generator, it overextended me, because I would push and I would drive and I would stay up all night because I wanted to win that contest, and I would never stay in my passion. And so when I got angry and I would get down and I would stay up and I would be tired and I would be like just pushing through, I'd be ruining all of my good work that I was doing by this bad energy, and I'd sabotage. And so then I never won a contest, and out of all this time and all of this energy, and I never won, and I'd beat myself up. And I finally have just realized, I'm like, you can't do it, because I burn out until I can learn myself better, so that I can put those boundaries in and sit and congratulate people on the sidelines and participate in the contest in my half-ass, I guess you would say, because if I went full out, I'd burn out. And so we have to look at our energy and what feels good for us, but not to put ourselves into a box, but to learn how we can trust that. And so our defined centers, we can trust those. And our undefined centers, that's where we got to be mindful of when you're working with people, when you're in situations. And so that's where people are going to control you, right? Because those are your weak spots. You might be manipulated by that. And so you want to be aware. And so maybe in the beginning, you learn how to control your mind, because you got an open mind. And so you got to control it so that you're not letting the negative stuff get in. So you know what yours is. You got an open throat. you got to learn how to throw it so you're not throwing up on everybody. You got to learn how sometimes silence is better. And so we have to learn really, yes, to control, but only so we know who we are. And then we can allow ourselves to bloom and evolve and test the waters, right? We got to learn how to swim before we just go down. So somebody applause me.
I mean, oh my gosh, what? I put in the chat, I'm like, Kristen ain't playing, she on fire already, just dropping it. And I put, wow. And my avatar is like, wow. I mean, what? Oh my gosh. You dropped so much just goodness. Just, girl, you was like, uh-huh, and oh my gosh. First of all, I'm so thankful and grateful for your presence of surrender and trust, where you allow your guides to speak through you and just be getting me all fired up, okay? I'm so thankful and grateful for that, Queen, okay? I want to say that first. What? When the guides was talking about, okay, the throwing up on people. Yeah, I have a problem with that. Hi, my name is Deanna. Hi, Deanna. I have a problem with throwing up on people. I look back in time, and it was throwing up, but it was nervousness. It was, I wanted to be seen, and then I wasn't sure if they were going to accept me. So the habit or the subconscious pattern that was beginning to happen because of that, I would throw up on you. And I would say something just off the wall, and you're like, okay, yeah. And I've had people literally say that and do that to me. And then I could just see, D, why were you so out of yourself, out of your mind, out of your human design? Watch out. That you did something crazy, and now they think you're crazy because they did. They thought, okay, I don't know what's going on with her, but I'm going to go ahead and go over there. Oh my gosh. Yes, Jesse's laughing. For real, they would move from me. Okay, it was great seeing you today, but I need to go talk to Jesse now. Oh, that was me. Oh no. Right.
Say you're a manifesting generator, and so you have a defined throat. And so I want to make sure, because I was like, we want to learn how to control our undefined centers first, because that's where we're susceptible. Now, when we have defined centers though, and I love how you brought up why you were speaking in that way, because of the nerves, or anxiousness or whatever. It wasn't because you were in alignment, because what you were saying was probably extremely valid, but it was probably not the right time. Because you forced it, or because of that other energy or whatever is what did it. And so we can learn in both ways, but also, where do those nerves and that anxiety and all of that come from? Could it come from the open head? Especially if you're around all of these other people, you're trying to make sure you're making sure they're comfortable, especially that awkward silence. When some people are just like, can't stand silence, like that usually can come from the open head center, actually. Because when everybody's silent, like you either can feel their energy or you're trying to read their face, right? And so that's more of that open head as opposed to the throat. And so I love that you brought that up, because it could go the other way. Now, if you had an open throat, you might be doing those same things. You might be that awkward silence too, because you don't know how or when you should speak, but it's more that you're speaking because you just want to be seen. And so we kind of word vomit, or we just say whatever we say in that moment because there's no consistent energy. And so we got the two sides of the coin, right? They work together, both being defined and undefined. And so if it is a definition, and so for D, it was a great example. We kind of wanted to look a little bit deeper at that. And then it would be the same thing for me when I word vomit. And even though I told you to stop me and interrupt me at that, because I'm like, oh God, I'm going too far. At the same time, I still was getting chills through my body. And I'm like, well, if they do stop me. If not, I'm going to keep going. I paused for a moment and nobody jumped in. So I'm like, meh, blah, 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 blah. And so because I know I'm with the right people, and I know that you're my people that are going to listen to me. Now, if I went going all like that and into like just sitting out in my living room with Ben and his friend, and they don't know anything as much about human design, they would look at me like that. And then I'd be like, come back to my open head. And I was like, I wasn't even and so we got to kind of, it's those different layers. And that's the beauty of the human design though, because every single person's different in how we dive in.
We went through let me remove on. It's like you're gonna bring me now. Oh man, what a great. So first of all, let's take a deep breath, everybody, and absorb all the knowledge that Queen gave us right now. Oh yeah, that was amazing. And two, this is something that my guides told me earlier. And I didn't understand it until you said that, Christine. So earlier when I was getting prepped to go to first to meditation and then to come here. So the second time I started to get prepped, there were the first time I was like, oh, I'm going to Zoom. We're gonna do some movement over there with Nicole. It's gonna be great. Then my guides were like, can you imagine having a conversation with somebody that you know in your block about this? Like, hey, I'm just in the bathroom talking to my guides, and I'm letting them know, like, I'm gonna go to class with Nicole, and we're gonna have some movements, and yeah, and then we're gonna go to Feminine Flame, and we're gonna be talking about all these stuff that we're gonna be talking to with Christine. Can you imagine you going down the block with somebody and said to them, hey, so what kind of conversations did you have today with your guides? Like, yeah, did you talk about your shoes being untied? Did you talk about the water? What did you talk about? Can you imagine how they're gonna see you right now if you have these type of conversations? And then I was like, yeah, we tried that and it went not so well. So with that being said, take a deep breath, enjoy yourself. And if you're having a moment where you're not understanding it, it's okay. It's fine. It happens to the best of us. We go through these moments because we're lost and we're finding ourselves with the human design map here. So if you're having a tough time, also sit down and take another deep breath, because tough time also teaches that there are amazing, beautiful moments that are going to come out. We're going to learn something out of this. Like, what is going to happen? We could either sit there and cry and cry more and get our eyes really swollen and you can't even come out. You have to put really big glasses, or you can just breathe and listen. And then, oh, that's how I get out of that. Oh, okay, well, that was easy. That was pretty easy. Yeah, it's easy, but it's hard to do. So let's get in there. And I can't wait for the rest of the conversation, Christine, because you're dropping it like it's hot. Like, what? Yes.
And so, it's interesting that your guys were like, imagine talking to somebody, down the street about it, because, and Jennifer and I were actually on a call last night after we got off our call. Her and I hopped on a one-on-one and we were just chit-chatting, and it was a lot about this, needing a tribe, honestly, needing a tribe, because if you don't, it isn't about every single person that you can walk down the street and talk to yet, right? And so, but how can we learn how to intermingle all of that? Like, how can we show, and how can we still open up some of these discussions, right? We don't have to make it be like it's this uber scary thing, or try to scare them away. Like, oh, but how are some ways that we can, start to open up the discussion about it? And, I ask people all the time when they tell me like they're really struggling, or when they're like, I'm just so conflicted right here, or I really like, if you're having that inner battle, like, a wonderful thing to ask is like, have you ever looked at your chart? Like, it would just be so interesting to see if, you know, like, and I say to people, I'm like, I would really love to just see your chart right now. Like, because then I could at least look at it and I know a little bit. And now all of you who keep watching and who keep attending, you know a little bit. You at least know what their energy type is and how you could read the part that says if they're a generator, they should respond, and you could at least help them with that. Or if you now see that they're sacral, that they want like a yes and a no, and they should listen with their gut. And so like sometimes opening up these little doorways, or even when you're walking down the street with your dog or whatever, and you're like, ask your neighbor, you know, like, I know it's cold here, like where we are, but like, have you really just enjoyed like what the fresh air feels like on your skin? Like some people really just don't even understand the moment of awareness. Like what cold, like I hate being cold. Like that's why I go to Bikram. Like I get so tense, but I am really trying to use my breath right now. Especially I'm in 2 different spaces. I'm in this air magic and I'm like really trying to I'm like, all right, it's getting chilly. Like how I know I can use my breath in Bikram. Some people hate being hot, and I love, like, I'm in 106 and it's so humid, and I can control my breath and I can stand there like I look like I'm out of a swimming pool, and I am standing there as calm as can be. And I'm like, how can I do that when I'm cold? And the first things is just like, what is this cold doing to my skin? Like when I get like this, I'm like, it's not gonna do anything to, like, I can relax my muscles. Okay, I have to relax my shoulders. The second I do that, I relief all of that. There's an automatic like, like, and that's like that thing, like I can do this, like just like you said, like we can just keep breathing and it doesn't need to be this hard, right? And like that was my breathing meditation last night. We were breathing in, and you know what, when you breathe in and you get bigger, what happens? That circle starts to make shadows, and sometimes you can't see everything, but that doesn't mean that those things disappear. And then when we exhale, I said when we exhaled, we make wrinkles, we make creases, there's more shadows, there's more darkness that gets in created in that space as well. But nothing gets taken away, nothing goes away. And so it's like in the light and in the dark, like we need all of that there. And so like how can we find that level of that ease and that balance, that like the level of that trust? And like looking at our chart is like one of the easiest ways to kind of be like, okay, if I don't want to just like jump off this cliff right now with no net, nothing, right? Like, okay, if I know that I got to define something, there's one wing, right? I got one defined center, I got a wing, and I got another one, maybe I got a wing. Like, if we can kind of look at those centers as like little safety nets that we're like, okay, I might not know all of it yet, but I know I'm strong in my direction. And that's for me, like there's so many times, like right now, like even listening to you guys on Feminine Play, I get imposter syndrome so many times. Like I have right now, I'm in so many high vibe groups, which I need to be in that to help myself evolve, right? But I also need to know how to not get that syndrome, and how to, like, when I see what you're doing, I'm like, oh my God, I love that these girls are on every single day. And I'm like, you're going to Sedona. I'm like, I love Sedona. Like, I want to go. And that's my MG, but that's also my open head. That's also my open solar plexus. That's feeling your energy, feeling your excitement. That's like, take me. And so I have to learn how to step away, or else I'm going to get thrown into all of these things, or even like listening to all of the stuff. And like, we have to learn how we can ground and how we can trust ourselves, because your beautiful journey is not my beautiful journey. And we're all on it together. We're standing next to each other and we're holding each other strong, but we have to learn how to differentiate who we are and who you are. And we're all MGs, but we all got to have our own thing, you know?
We have our own thing. Oh man, that was pretty strong. If you didn't feel that, then I don't know. Yeah, we're redefining who we are. That's what we're doing. And you know, Christine, something that I've been practicing in my house lately. Well, not in my house, everywhere I go. It's about staying in silence instead of speaking so much. because I was speaking a lot, and my guides are like, no, we're gonna need you to retract a little bit for the energies that we're working on right now, and because there's a lot of things that is happening, and for a lot of us we know, for a lot of us we don't know, and for a lot of us we don't know, but we just know that something huge is happening. It's huge is happening in the energies, right? So my guides are like, yeah, we're gonna need you to like color more, we're gonna need you to like stay quiet more, we're gonna need you to like watch a movie and not speak at all, we're gonna need you to drink some more water and stay quiet. So that's been rough.
Well, it's been, but I would love to see your chart about that. But I do want to say that whole putting yourself in observer role, especially when we are like that word vomiting, right? Like that wanting to help people and share people, or go run down your stream. Like, we all should be taking these sacred baths. Why aren't you going and walking around in nature? Why aren't you getting these messages? We all want to tell because it's amazing, but we need to let them do their thing, right? We can't click onto their lessons that they need to have. And so if you have the open third eye, which sometimes we tend to convince people. And so depending on what it is, if you have an open third eye, especially not wanting to be convinced or to have other people convince you about that, which you do have the open third eye. So you're learning on your spiritual journey. And so as much as you want to share with all of us what you're doing, your guides are kind of saying, you know what, this is a personal journey. This is how you go and do it. We go do and speak to you through walking, through doing this, but also because you're inside a household with teenage kid, like people who are definitely getting into going on their path, and they're trying to help them learn that. We have to make sure that you're being the beautiful mom and letting them kind of explore, right? Letting them explore their lessons, what they need to kind of do to learn for themselves. And so that open head and even the open third eye right there is beautiful for you right now to kind of stay silent and to be that observer. And also it will help you kind of control your mind. Like we were talking about, coming back to the beginning. Can you, is your root open or closed? Can you scroll to the bottom? Okay, so for Jessie's chart, her 2 is just the head and the third eye. So where she wants to start in the beginning of that control, if we want to start about that, because these are her areas where she is vulnerable, where people are going to try to manipulate her, especially if we're talking about our head center. She has completely open. So she doesn't even have a gate that's there. And so she's going to get, like right now, being the observer is beautiful, because being completely open means that this is the greatest lesson, is our open centers, because it's meant for you to explore, because you do not know what really feels like for you until you feel it, right? You got to explore it. You got to know this thought process. And so that's why when we're open, we try so many different things, because we don't know what it feels like for us. And so for you guides to tell you to sit back and to just observe, they want you to kind of thought process and go through, well, what feels good for you? And don't say it to somebody, but listen to it, hold on to it. What feels good for you? How does that feel? Even when it comes to filtering through some of the even human design, what I'm even saying to you right now, as anybody should always do, you should always put your own filter on what I'm saying and how it resonates with you, because I don't know your life experiences, and I'm not going to ever pretend that I do. And so your third eye is another open area that we also have to be careful too, because it's connected to the throat, and this is our belief system. And so you have definition there. And so making sure that you're not pushing those beliefs, trying to convince other people. And so that observer role plays really nice for you to, step up and to start learning some of those, because you have been so much on your journey. You do so much tuning in, that seeing how much definition you have, that should be, I don't want to say easy. It's not easy, right? Because you still have to check in. And just like Jessie said before, like you said before, you're like, if all we got to do is sit and listen and color. That can be very hard for other people and be like, well, they'll be like, what do you mean you colored today? You didn't go to work. You didn't do this. You didn't, like, what's the 3D world going to spit those negative things at you, right? They're like, what do you mean you colored? You're coloring today? You didn't go to work? What about your kids? Did you feed them breakfast today? I mean, who knows what the negative Nancy's have to say? There's so many negative Nancy's out there that we got to watch. And so, yes, it's easy to sit and color, but it's hard to actually sit and do it. And so, but that's the same thing as listening to the guides and listening to our body. Are you tired today? Are you taking a nap? How many of us don't go take a nap? We're like, no, I got to do this. I got to do this. Let me knock out these other 3 tasks. Take a nap. It's noon. I can't take a nap. I've never taken a nap. Your body is telling you to take a nap. And we don't listen. And then we get the flu and then we're down and out. 4 days, can't do anything, like we had, like, those are the things to learn to listen. So for Jessie, looking at her chart, and this would be because of the way her chart looks in the definition and the non-definition, for her, she checks into her body all the time, like doing yoga, being a manifesting generator, doing that stuff because she has so much definition. She wants to be able to feel that in her body. Going for her walks, doing the physical activity to learn her definition, because that is going to be the easier thing to learn, right? What am I already doing? That's what she's been doing this whole time, has been learning her. And so now she gets to jump up into the headspace. And now it's like, okay, let's learn more about, like, these are the superpowers, because this is like our exploration. These are our teachers. You do get to kind of explore, and you get to dip your toes in, and you get to dabble. And this is going to be where you do evolve more in those open centers, because especially when we think about our third eye and our brain, and you're like, you can see that these thought process, you're not going to get stuck in a finite thing, right? You're going to see that, oh, well, this system worked right now because this is the materials we have for right now. But you know what? We're building new materials all the time, and we're getting all of these, and then hell, we had technology, right? Like back in the day, the mail, whatever, it was easier to do this because we didn't have technology. Now we have this. So why not shift this and do it in this way? And that beauty comes from the evolving of being willing to be open in your mind. And so there's so much like blessings and ways that we're going to evolve. And so when you start to learn who you are and your definition, and then we can shift and we can look at our open centers and be like, ooh, this is where I am open to these different ideas, and I want to explore these different things. And these are going to be the areas where you can make a big impact in society, because you're willing to think outside the box. And it doesn't need to be a head and a mind. Maybe you have an open spleen, and you're like, and that's about fear and instinct. And you're like, how you can start to teach people and breathe, like we can learn more through our breath, that, certain things on how we can get ourselves in and out of fight and flight situations, like you can do so many different things about an open solar plexus. For me, like learning how to tap into this energy and feel these different people, like that is a superpower too. And so going in the chart in that way, coming full circle back to how we started in the beginning about, okay, what should we be controlling? What should we be looking at? Like, where do we need to kind of put a little bit more structure on ourselves, right? We all kind of we do need some guidance. We kind of like structure in the ways of, if it's going to help us and propel us and make sure that we're still doing something in some ways. And so kind of looking at your defined centers for your structure, for the areas to give you that structure. For me, I have my defined center, my sacral, and my defined G center, Jessie too. And so both of those having energy to go somewhere, like to do something, I walk all the time too. And that's why I say it too. I think it's great. That's why we both have those dogs that we do, walking and getting out and just going in some way is definition for us, and moving. I say every manifesting generator should move the body, because that's something good for us, and that's our definition. And when we can just move, then we can be open for other things, because that energy is not just trapped, right? We're letting it do something. We're letting it be creative. We're letting, in whatever way that is for you. And so use those definition areas to build a structure and be like, this is what feels good for, and do it because it feels good, right? And it's going to help you. And then we look at those white areas and like, this is where we can challenge and explore and play and find other open third eyes. And this is why all three of us, I think D, you're open third eye too. And we're like, we play around with spirituality and we play around with these different ideas, and nothing is finite because it is all about what we felt like and what our experiences were. And we're like, oh shit, I'm getting messages. I'm listening to this, you know, and it's like that. And so find those tribe of people. So if you can start looking at your charts, like if you can find a group of all open third like that, then you know you can all sit and have wonderful enlightened conversations like this. Like if you guys want to bring more guests on, you should be like, hey, I got to see your chart. You need to have an open third eye. I know we can have a really kick-ass spirituality chat, right? You know, and so kind of looking at it in that way. But that's how, if you wanted to learn to like, but in the beginning, you're going to have to learn how to control those open centers so that you don't keep going out there. And that's learning for me to control even my open third eye. And I go and I explore and I explore and I explore, but then I have to learn to break away. Even when it came to human design, it was hard for me. It was so hard for me to leave that group. Like we had a whole little group. We met on Fridays. Like there was a whole community, and it was like, and I did it in baby steps. First, I took myself out of the Facebook group, and then I just like muted the messenger group. I didn't want anybody to know I was going to leave it, you know, like I just want to sneak out the door. And it was hard, but then I realized, like, as I was doing those small little pieces, it made it even harder because I'm not honoring who I was. And the second that I really pulled the Band-Aid off, you know, we just ripped that Band-Aid off. It stings initially, but it goes so much quicker, you know, and I was able to kind of like come into my place, and more different people came to me that really like that lit up to me, and I found my other community. And so sometimes we kind of have to release that out.
All I gotta say is, oh my gosh, what always. Wow. I mean, when you change, thank you for saying what you said about the undefined centers, because my opinion and the emotion that was attached to that was negative. My daughter, all of her centers are almost undefined. And I was afraid. I'm like, you know, she's going to be manipulated. You know, she's not going to know herself. She's going to be bringing on everyone else's energies and stuff. But the way that you explained it today was total awesomeness. Awesome, okay? Because it gives you a point to have that treasure hunt, to be playful with it, to see what you like, and to be that free spirit. So, wow, I needed that. Thank you, guys. I needed that. That was so amazing.
Then thank you for saying that, because you know what? And I know exactly what you're saying. And there has been so many times when I do, oh no, hold on. Somebody just called me. And I know so many times that like it is kind of that negative connotation, and we don't want, and it's meant for that wake up, right? And that's like, it's almost like that different language. It's just meant for that awareness that we are vulnerable to it. And but then I love how I love the language that you just put to it, because especially talking to kids and teaching this to children, because I do want to teach this to children, and I even teaching it to adults, and we have to say it in this simple language. And I'm actually working with a woman who's working with children's charts, and she's got souls in her, and it's been very interesting. She's like, you need to talk to me like a kid. But if we can look at those open centers more as, yes, the exploratory, the playfulness, like, okay, this is where I get to see what I like and what I don't like. And also, as we look back at our life and look back at some of those open centers and look back at the areas where you did jump around, or maybe you switched up, or maybe you did play around in these things, you're like, oh, well, that makes sense. Why? Like, it almost kind of gives you that ease. I'm like, okay, that's good that I didn't like that. Like, I just meant to try, right? It was just meant for me to try, and that I didn't need to hold on to it. And so, yeah, when we're talking to our kids about it, and even talking to ourselves, sometimes I feel like we need to talk to ourselves like a child so that we have that compassion, because what we're healing is the wounds of our childhood, right? And so how can we now look at it in the playful way of, not so that I'm being manipulated. Now I know that these are my weak centers, or that I might need to shield if I'm going into mass crowd or whatever. But now how can I let myself explore? How can I figure out what I really like about these centers? Because then if you can jump the gun, so maybe that's how you want to explore it. If your daughter has all of these open centers, and rather than her being like peer pressured into all of this, maybe you encourage her to explore all different things. Be like, you know what, honey, why not try all the different sports? Why are you just going to pick one sport? Try all the sports, see which one you like. And then it gives her the freedom to say, I didn't like that, rather than you invested everything in this one sport. And, oh no, you got to stick with this sport. I already got all of, and sometimes I feel like we pressure them to stick with it and to make sure. And so, and now that you know that about her chart, and when she's in the tween years, and she's like, Mom, I'm in this religion, and you're like, you're gonna know, all right, this is her 2-week phase, and you're just gonna smile, and you're gonna accept her, and you're gonna be like, well, what'd you learn? And you having that open head center, you can now be like, well, teach me. And you can learn through her and be like, you know what, this is the open centers in you, and this is what I want you to explore, and I'm going to give you the areas to explore, but I'm going to ask you a favor. Can you share me one thing that you loved out of that? And so maybe you pull something. You got to tell me what you liked and what you didn't, and I'm going to let you explore all of this, and you have to tell me, because if you don't know what you like, and if you don't know what you didn't, you're not going to know what you like and what you didn't. And so maybe that's how you teach her, that she has to, it's not to be a right or a wrong, and you're going to go do this because you have to, or you don't have to. You're going to try this because you're going to just tell me if you like it or don't. But I want to know why you liked it and why you didn't. Because if you tell me, well, I really liked this sport because we all worked together as a team, but I didn't like it because we had to kick with a foot. Well, okay, well, maybe you want to try basketball because then you can throw but you can still work as a team. Or maybe you only liked working with one other person, and maybe we can try tennis, and you play but if they can peel those layers back on why they liked it and why they didn't, and you give them the openness to explore that. And hell, even with us, if we're like, well, why didn't I like that? Like, why didn't I like going live today? Was I going live by myself? Well, the other day it was way better when I had other people. Well, okay, so maybe I shouldn't keep saying I don't like going live. I just don't like going live alone. Like, find some people to go with you. And so explore in that way through your open centers.
That's amazing. And Tiffany said, how about, this one is a good question. So how is it for people with a colored third eye? Because that is a really good question.
And so the defined third eye means you just have a consistent belief system. Your beliefs are, your beliefs, right? You're very, and it doesn't need to be like a certain religion. Like, doesn't mean like you were set in this religion, but, or whatever, or even in spirituality, like you can still have this area of openness. But there is going to still be this underlying core belief. You have this underlying energy that's going through your belief system. And so you might feel like you resonate with more people who speak the same way as you do. And then maybe sometimes, even if it's just the language difference, you might have a hard time with. Like, sometimes I feel like even just the words, language, or spirituality and religion sometimes can get people all up into a tizzy. And I feel like sometimes when we have definition, it could be because of our defined, even down to our language, right? And I come back to that all the time, because I really feel like everything is energy, and we just don't have the verbiage. And so it's not that one person's right or wrong. It's just that's how they explained it. And we could all be talking about the exact same thing. And so, but when we have that definition, we have to remember that that is just our consistent way of thinking or of being of. And so in our third eye, it's our beliefs, your belief system, your belief system. And so you might not feel like you need to explore different things, or things might, you might find the law of attraction and energy or whatever. And that is what it is. You might just not feel this need to explore it, and it could be different for everyone. And I have a hard time speaking to that because I don't have that definition. So I don't know what that feels like to have that. But our third eye is, but we also want to be careful though, that you are not trying to convince other people. Because you have definition, you want to be careful that you're not trying to tell people that your way is right. And so that's where your trickiness is going to be, because I think we have looked at your daughter's chart, and I think your daughter, Tiffany, is that open third eye. And I think that's where we said we could play. And so making sure then you allow these conversations to be like, well, why don't you think this way? Or where do you feel like this is a little different? Like, how can you let her peel back some of the beliefs that maybe you have? Maybe you are trying to teach her a set way because you have that definition. And maybe if you're finding a little resistance, how can you open up a conversation and let her be like, well, what did you learn about that? Why do you learn that way? And so let her help you be that mirror, right? And that's what those open centers are for. When we have definition, our open centers is meant to mirror us, and that your daughter is meant to mirror you on that. And so she says, interesting, because she does like to explore. And maybe it's just because you have like that could be your definition too. Like you like to explore, you like to see, and maybe it's because you're realizing that there is so much with so many different religions, so many different things that are all the same, right? That all of it really is saying the same thing. And so maybe that's what you're seeing and feeling, and that's why you're able to explore in that way. But also as you are exploring, because you have that definition in each piece of everything, you can kind of feel what's right, what's wrong for you. If that helps. And so, yeah, you have the open, or the defined third eye and head center. And so interesting, because like you're like, and so it's like interesting because all three of us all have open head centers and open third eyes. And so it's almost like sometimes we're going to be reflecting some of your own stuff back to you, really to just kind of question to see, and you have to check in with yourself, and you're going to be like, oh yeah, I know that's me. And so for some of this, it's the exploration of you until you just trust that and have that, because you're doing kind of the exploring. Or if you feel like you have to explore, maybe it's just because you have, if we look down, you have this open G center, it's just the diamond in the middle, and we have an open heart center, which is like our love and our direction. And so for you, being mindful and careful when we are around, like I said, like when I'm around all my high vibe people with my open head, my open third eye, sometimes I'm like, oh, I should be doing this. And now for you, when you're around all the high vibe people, you want to be mindful in that heart, in that direction. And so you want to use your third eye as kind of your anchor point for your intuition when you're like, well, what direction should I go in? Or which way should I be going? Or do I feel like I have to prove myself? Or when you're fluctuating in any of that, because you have those open centers, you want to kind of come back and harness that energy that you have in your third eye. And remember, I said, like, especially with Jessie's chart in the beginning, and I'm just going to use her as an example because I know she's been doing this. And so beginning part of all of this, she had to take a lot of time to learn her defined centers and to really take the time. And so right now, maybe you're still doing the exploratory, and because we're on this awakening journey, you're at this stage of still trying to trust that knowledge in there. And so maybe you're exploring just to almost challenge yourself, right? And sometimes we all need to do, I do that all the time, you know, to challenge myself or to test myself or to do whatever. And so some of that exploration might be just a way for you to really learn to hone in, right? To really ground and to know who you are in that third eye, right? Because that is a very open, like, I mean, that's our intuition, and that's a life journey to learn that definition in there. And so being mindful of that sometimes we might be exploring even if we have that. And the same thing, like I said with D, right? Like D had her definition in her throat, but I was like, but when she was doing all that word vomiting before, it was really because it was the anxiety or the anxiousness coming from the open head. And so the same thing could be with you, Tiffany, with your defined third eye. Maybe you're finding a little bit more exploration because it's your open G center, because you're trying to find a direction in that open G center. And so the spirituality is where you know, right? You know spirituality because you have definition in it. And so that is a safe place for you. And so that's why you're finding that exploration. That's it. That I just had to work through all of that. And so, but that's really, I'm feeling that is that you're right now, like you have that, because you're confident in the, and you know it and you believe in it and you know it. And so now you're just trying to find where and how to share it and be in it. And so that's where that exploration is really coming from, that G center. And so rather than looking at our third eye and our intuition and tapping into our G center and our direction and our drive and looking at that for your harnessing. All right, I got 11:55 here on the East Coast. And so 2 angel numbers. And so I figured, let's see what human design energy we got. So we're in the gate of self-love right now, which is like one of the easiest ones to read. It literally says, love yourself. And then the questions are like, do you love yourself? How do you love yourself? And it's like I said, we're coming back to even, we should be talking to ourselves, like, bake it down to simple things, like come back to that childlike state, come back to our childlike wonder, come back to even just compassion and honoring ourselves and just simply asking, do I love myself? What do I do to love myself? Can I just say, I love you? I love me, you know? And by diving through, and even every time, even just listening to other people's charts, even just seeing how different every single person is every single day, I feel like that brings me a little bit closer to my own self, for just the realization and that understanding and that letting go of, wow, everybody is so different, that like I do not need to be anybody other than who I really am, right? Like there is nobody else that I need to be, because there honestly and truly really is nobody other than me. And Karen says, and I love the way she says it, we are a once in a lifetime cosmic event. We're a freaking cosmic event of all stardust. Like we are made up of all of that. And so like, just be it and honor it and love on it. And if we word vomit all over people, the right people will wipe it off and give you a hug and a kiss right afterwards with that puke all over, and they don't even care, you know, like, and if not, they'll come back to you when they're ready, and it's okay. And they needed that lesson too. We got to remember that we might feel that way, but there was something in that vomit that woke them up. And that was like, whoa. Oh, you know what? Maybe she ain't all wrong. Maybe she ain't all crazy. I got to maybe go dive down some rabbit hole. And maybe 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, who knows? They're like, you know what? Thank you so much for that crazy. You probably don't even remember. But one day we were walking down the street and you told me something. And girl, you sent me down this hole. And I want to thank you. And I want to thank you for that. And here we are having this like shame and this guilt and this trauma. No. Wipe it off and be like, they learned something, and walk away. So let's see what other magic message, what gate energy we can harness onto for the rest of this week to help us kind of grab into some love, some self-love. And then I am going to pull a fairy. I just like got a little fairy twinkle into. So integrity. Integrity, wanting to love on ourselves. We cannot do that unless we have integrity, unless we know who we are, right? We have to have these two go hand in hand. This is coming from our heart center, integrity. And so to learn to value your right place and your value as if you are priceless. And so we are priceless. And so you need to act as if you are priceless. We have to heal our past traumas so that we can elevate our self-worth. We trust the divine support enough to do the right thing. And we nurture ourselves enough to have more to give. And so right now, even like having integrity, for Jessie to say, for her having integrity is saying, they told me I'm going to sit in color. And that can be so hard. But if she honestly wants to love herself and listen to the message that she's saying, if she ignored that, that's not having that integrity, right? That is guidance. If your body is saying take a nap, if you're getting message take a nap, if somebody is telling you, hey, why don't you call somebody or go check on somebody or whatever it is, and you're like, like we're losing that integrity. We're losing our integrity with our connection to our trust, to ourselves, right? And we got to learn how to value that message was coming to us for a reason, that we were told to take a nap for a reason, to love our body, to love the meat suit that we're in, because our soul is old and it is tired and it is going to be living forever. And this time that we are here is just means nothing. And so go take a 20-minute nap. Nothing's going to happen in 20 minutes, sit in color and ground and take some time. That is living in integrity, because you're trusting that things will work out. When we feel like we have to control, right? This is coming back to that control. We got to control everybody's actions. Like if Jessie didn't trust that her kids could take care, like they're like, no, your kids can feed them, whatever. Trust, like let them have that message, that lesson, that life experience. Oh, I guess I got to learn how to make a sandwich. Well, I hope you do. You're 15, like learn how to make a sandwich. Like, I don't know, just as an example though, but some of those integrity pieces, when we have this control, and we're like, I got to control all of this. And I did it at yoga the other day, like, man, sometimes I want to control people's breathing. I can't do that as a teacher. I got to snap out. And there's so many times as a teacher, like even when I look at alignment and I say the cues and I'll watch somebody's hip, they'll adjust. Did they go all the way? No, but they did what they could for them. And I got to let go. I got to let go of that control. And that's acting with that integrity. When I can let go of the control and trust that they are going to do the thing for themselves, that the universe is going to support me for themselves, that the universe is supporting them too. I'm trusting that they're getting their own messages, their own guidance, their own self-love, right? We got to empower people to get their own self-love, to do their own stuff. And so we all think that it's this cold thing. Hold on one sec. To like honor ourselves, or to like, it's selfish to take those breaks or to take a bath. And like, and I'm doing this is with my dog right now. And it's so funny. Like we've been like, but I'm learning, like, even when I go to breath work and I'm like doing this breath work, and she said to me, she's like, Christine, were you comfortable when you were in that? I was like, I just put myself into shock. And I was like this, like, was I comfortable? No, I couldn't move my entire body. And she's like, how do you feel right now? And I was like, I feel amazing. Like I released I sweated through it. And she's like, did you make it? And I said, hell yeah, I made it. I'm out of it. And so like with my dog, like, I feel so bad that like, she is so worried about when we leave, like she has a separation anxiety. And I have bought everything. I have bought CBD. I've bought Bach flowers. I've used essential oils. I've gotten the thunder jacket. I mean, I have bought everything. And she's still anxious. And I've given her different tools and I've done different things. And I went to that breathwork session and I was like, oh my God. And I literally the next day I looked at the dog and I didn't do anything special. I didn't put anything on her. I didn't give her anything. I didn't give her a treat. I didn't do anything. I just looked at her and I said, you're gonna be okay. I gotta go. I will be home. And she didn't freaking panic. Like she didn't panic. She didn't drool. She was drooling. She was panicking. but I was trying to control her situation, which was giving me anxiety, which she was feeling that anxiety, and it was all working through it. And it was funny because Jessie said that this dog is my guide, and I know she's my, like, I mean, I can't even tell you how many things. It has been a beautiful journey. And she looks in my eyes and I'm like, I'm listening. And she tells me so many things, but that was the biggest aha for me, to let go of that control for her, or for even for my partner, for certain things with Ben. Like, I'm like, oh God, I gotta be home so I can make dinner and do all. No, I want to go to yoga. He can do his thing. You know, we got to let go of some of that control. And that's living in that integrity, because then we're listening to ourselves. Then we're loving ourselves. That is that gate of self-love. That's that gate that we need, that energy right now. And so see what these little fairies got. These little fairies got for a little magic, bringing a little playfulness. I love that image that Dee just brought with like that open center, because although I was saying it, I definitely didn't feel it in that same way. And so thank you for playing it in that way and saying that the playful. And I just love that word playful. I need to use it more, because that just like sparks that kid, right? And that also it brings me back to having grace. When I hear that word, it reminds me that it doesn't need to be so serious, because we're not going to die from it, and it's not going to kill us, right? We can smile and we can laugh through all those tears as our eyes are getting puffy. And hell, my trigger the other day made me laugh so hard. I actually laughed. I'm like, oh my God, this is the same fucking shit again. And I just laughed. And I'm like, it's just funny. Like, why am I going to get mad? Like, let's be playful, just laugh. And then be like, all right, I'm going to learn next time. And when you don't, and you still stub your toe, you're going to laugh. Oh, home, sweet home, home, sweet home. Come home to your soul. Look at that little cave right there. Home, sweet home. Number 64, home, sweet home. And so 64, the return. There are 3 levels to this card. Ugh, I got so many chills right now. This card is about returning to your roots. This may be involved to a trip to your childhood home or to a relative's. It involves thinking about old memories from the past and perhaps releasing those that are not so good. Age and life bring more understanding to events that happened in the past. The lessons are now easier to understand and to absorb. Number 2, this card also refers to the home in which you live in now. If you are not comfortable where you are living, then you need to start looking around for a way to do things to make it more comfortable, or even a new home. Maybe it's doing a little repair or decorating, freshening it up a bit. Bring awareness. Number 3, for those who are ready to hear it, this card is about awareness. Awareness is the sense about reaching that point in your spirituality when you have suddenly feel the connection to the one source. This is the one when you truly understand that you are connected, and you always have, and you will always be. It is knowing that you are part of something so much greater than just your physical being here on earth. And it's a knowing that goes to the core of your being. You have an integral role in all of existence. One that you begin to understand your own divinity. You must begin to be kinder and to live life fuller and to be grateful for all that comes into your life. This card says that we all go home when our voyage on this earth is finished. This is not a card about death, and it makes no predictions of such. It is simply just asking you to recognize your divine. With this recognition comes a peace unlike any other you have ever known. It is as if you've been absorbed into this glowing white energy of creation. Although we will all go back to the source when we leave our physical body, we do not lose our individuality. So do not fear this is happening. Be in this peace. Be in this comfort. Be comforted in the knowledge that you will always have a home waiting for you. Chant today. I am, I have always been, I always will be, and so it is. Boom. I could not have picked, I mean, if I flipped through this deck, I couldn't have picked a card better if I wanted to. Damn, that was good. That's my mic drop.
Wow. If you didn't get the chills, oh man. Ooh, Queen, you still, are we back? Because I feel like we went somewhere and came back. We're back. We're landed the ship. We landed the ship, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're feeling okay. Queen, you're there?
No. Oh my gosh, today I felt so many different emotions. I wanted to cry. I wanted to laugh. I wanted to vomit on y'all. I wanted to do all that stuff. Oh my gosh. I feel so honored. Just so honored. Woo! All I gotta say is that whatever leveling up you're doing, Christine, continue to do it because you have leveled up. Oh my gosh. They are just like, they're like, oh, say this next. Oh, say this next. They're so excited and they're sharing so much through you, Queen. Oh my gosh. I love continue to trust and surrender and just allow it to flow through you. Ooh.
Oh, yeah. I love it. Me and my team personally love it. Yes. Man, so I personally don't have any last words, but just be grateful for your work and grateful for you showing up every single day for you and for learning you so that we can learn more of you and with you. Because whoa, that's just only whoa wants to come out of my mouth. So yeah, I'm gonna let you do the ending of it and do your thing and whoa.
Oh, thank you so much, ladies. I want to say that I am honored. I am truly honored that you have allowed me to have a space here, not only once to be with you, but to be with you every single week. And it truly is something so meaningful. And I want you to know that it is my highlight of my week. And it brings me passion. And this is what I do love to do. And this is what I know that I need to do. And when I do that, and so I thank you for seeing that, because I've had to step back a little bit, and I have had to come in and zone in and what I need to be doing. As much as I want to play with everybody else, I have to, we have to sometimes step back and realize. And so I am so honored. And if anybody, I am going to be doing Integrity next Monday, 2 p.m. Reach out to these queens, reach out to me, find your human design chart, find all of that. I am going to be doing Integrity workshop 2 p.m. on Monday. I don't know, what the 28th or something like that. So reach out if you want to jump on that, and then we'll definitely be talking about it. Sure, I'm here, but love you. Love all of you. Each EST. Yes. 2 p.m. EST. Thank you, goddesses. You're amazing. You're amazing. Love you.
And with that being said, we love you so much. We see you tomorrow, mañana, for more blow up moments in our lives, because we need it. We need to stay grounded and we need to stay together. We need to do the work, because if we don't, then yeah, it goes to shit. And we don't want it to go to shit. We want it to be good. We want it to level up every single day. We want to come out and be like, whoa, I just did that with my lipstick and my heels. And yeah, well, we did that. Let's what's next now? What is next? We'll see you tomorrow. We love you so very much.